Thank you to everybody. So I want to think for a minute, very quickly, about names. Names that exist on your driver's license and passport, or that's one set of names. Another set of names that you have is the names that we have on the Aliyah cards that we have in our little box. In fact, our names mean something. They mean a lot. In Hebrew, there's no word for reputation. The only word for reputation is Shem, name. Your name is your reputation. That is who you are in the world. But even more than that, your name says something about you. Certain insights, elements of a person's personality. Taking it further, there's a belief that if somebody is suffering from an awful illness, we can change their name and change their fate. But this is not something new. It's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. With the giving of names, we have a very deep power. God names things in the beginning of the world and then hands it over to humans to name the rest of the animals. For those of you that have given the name to a child, perhaps you felt the weight of that responsibility, that this is going to be their name for the rest of their lives. In Parashat Vayetze, the entire concept of names comes into clear focus. As the Torah portion moves along, we follow Jacob. He begins his journey to escape Esau's wrath. He leaves his childhood home in search of a career, a family, and an identity. 3 things, and he succeeds in all 3. He becomes a successful shepherd, he marries, has children, and next week we'll read about his new identity. But for our story today, coming right after Thanksgiving, where we often make fun of and have on full display the dysfunction in our families, I want to focus on our own dysfunctional family. You're shaking your head. I see a few head shakes there. Specifically, the beginning of Jacob's new family, which, like most family beginnings, starts with a marriage. But as we know, it's a little complicated. It's not one marriage, it's actually several. And at the same time, involving sisters and their handmaidens. Jacob, as we said, is in love with Rachel. But Rachel has an older unmarried sister, Leah. And so Jacob's uncle and father-in-law, Lavan, switches out the 2 girls the night of the wedding. Jacob marries Leah first and then Rachel. Rachel has a difficult time getting pregnant. Leah has a bunch of babies. But Jacob loves Rachel. Layers and layers of uncomfortable dysfunction. If I was a psychologist, I could have a lot of fun with this. But this is where we begin to see the power of names. As Leah names each of her children, the Torah explains each name is not so much about the child, but rather a reflection of Leah's own anguish. First comes Reuben, whose name is a prayer that Jacob might see, recognize, love Leah. Leah says, the Torah says, "V'tahar Leah v'teled ben v'tikra," and she called Shemo Reuven, and she called the name Reuven, ki amara ki ra'a Adonai be'oni. God saw ra'a oni, my suffering. Reuven is a contraction of that. The next child, Simeon, Shimon, comes from the root Shema. Perhaps God will hear me, says Leah. She conceived and bore again. Next comes Levi. And it says, Leah said, Ata hapam yilveh ishi. This time my husband will become attached to me, for I've borne him 3 sons. And she names him Levi after Yilveh. All these names are articulations of what is missing in Leah's world. Leah, a participant in a difficult and complicated marriage, is distraught. She wants to find love. She wants to find recognition. We can only imagine what it must have been like for kids to be born into this dynamic. But then something changes and switches in Leah. She has a 4th child. Her 4th child, she calls him Yehudah, Judah, which connotes gratitude, saying, "This time I will give thanks to the Creator." Thanks, odeh, is related to Yehudah. By the time she has her fourth child, Leah is able to be happy and grateful for what she has. She's not looking for something else, but she's expressing that there's gratitude, there's enough in her life right now. And it's not an accident that Judah, the fourth-born child, goes on to be the leader of his brothers later in life, and he becomes the ancestor of the tribe from which the kings of Israel are born, and according to Jewish tradition, is where the Messiah will come. But even more than that, Yehudah becomes the namesake of our entire people. We are Yehudim, we are Jews. We are the ones who are based in a world of gratitude. The very first word a Jew is supposed to utter in the morning is modeh or modah ani. I am thankful, I am grateful. Gratitude is the essence of who we are. We continue to live right now through a prolonged moment of violence in the world and in Jewish life, and the feelings we experience these days are hard. During times like these, it's easy to get stuck in Leah's early feelings. Won't God just take care of us? Won't God just be nice to us? Won't God just have compassion on us? But it also, in moments like these, precisely when it's more important to learn the lesson that Leah learns through the birth of Judah, for us to be able to tap into a broader, expansive place of gratitude. It's no coincidence that the United States, founded by Puritans, Calvinists who were steeped in the Bible, should have known as Thanksgiving, should have a day that is known as Thanksgiving, recognizing the presence of God. But what's more amazing is who and when Thanksgiving was made a national holiday. A national holiday on the last Thursday of every year, last Thursday of November every year. Who was it that did it? Abraham Lincoln. When? In the middle of the Civil War. Abraham issued the Thanksgiving Proclamation, thanking God that though the nation was at war with itself, there were still blessings for which both sides could express gratitude: a fruitful harvest, no foreign invasion, and so on. I do therefore invite my fellow citizens in every part of the United States to set apart and observe the last Thursday of November next as a day of thanksgiving and praise to our benefit Father who dwells in the heaven. And so today, on the Shabbat of Thanksgiving, while our own people are still in a state of war and turmoil, difficulty, let us not lose sight of the power of gratitude to lift us out of darkness, to raise us up, so we can live up to the name that we carry, the Yehudim, those people who have gratitude at the core of our very nature. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with the Chatzi Kaddish on 279. Following that, Shana will begin the Amidah.